Buen Camino, and welcome to this, the third in our series of practical Pilgrim webinars from Camino Pilgrim at the Confraternity of St. James. We hope you've been finding them useful so far, but do feel free to send us in any feedback you have to office@csj.org.uk. Now, originally billed to be our speaker for today was CSJ member Mark Lyford. Mark, however, is actually a school teacher, and since children went back to school on the 8th of March in England, his time has been rather taken up with that. So apologies, Mark won't be joining us. Instead, you've got me, you lucky things, talking to you about how to go about doing your research. Just share my slideshow with you. My plan is to share with you what I think are some useful considerations, techniques and resources that could help guide you in your Camino preparations. I reckon I'll talk about this for about half an hour or so, after which we'll have about 15 minutes of questions from you guys. You can ask your questions using the Q&A button. Feel free to type them and send them in at any time. I'll deal with as many of them as I can at the end, but in the event that I miss you out or I simply don't know the answer, I'll make sure you get emailed a response in the coming days. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Freddie and I'm the CSJ's General Manager, advising pilgrims how to prepare for their journeys for 5 years. As you can imagine, I have a lot of second-hand knowledge and experience from the hundreds of pilgrims I've spoken to over the years. I've also walked myself from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Burgos and Irún to Bilbao, the rest obviously yet to come whenever we can. Despite the fact that he can't be with us today, Mark has sent in some of his top tips for any pilgrim planning on doing the most popular Camino route, the Camino Frances. I have peppered these throughout my presentation today, so we still get some of the benefit of his wisdom. So today I'm going to be giving you my take on how best to go about doing your research into the Camino. It can be daunting, it can be intimidating, but hopefully today I can provide you with some reassurance and help you to break it down into more manageable pieces based on my experience. If you're here, I imagine most of you have had a stab at this already, and if you haven't, don't worry, that's naturally ideal. But if you have, you've probably found just how much information and advice is out there on how you should prepare for your Camino. As you can see here, Google managed to find me 993,000 results in about 0.6 of a second. These will include lists of blogs, websites, books, forums, apps, podcasts, videos, social media groups, social media pages. There is so much information out there, and it can get very overwhelming very quickly, even off-putting, frankly. Things like how much should I take? What's the best rucksack? Boots or trainers or sandals? Best ways to treat blisters? How to prevent bed bug bites? How far should I walk every day? Should I take a mobile? What's pilgrim accommodation like? What will the weather be like while I'm there? And you will find, I think, that there are as many opinions out there as there are pilgrims. Everyone has their own way of doing things on the Camino. This is key. Different kit, different routines, different outlooks, different habits, different standards. And those with the strongest opinions tend to have the loudest voices and plaster their views all over the internet. Much of the information you read will contradict itself and may even recommend practices which just aren't right for you. Here we have the first of Mark's top tips that he sent in. Mark says, ignore the horror stories online about no beds, and bed bugs, etc. Absolutely right, I think. Don't believe everything you read, in summary. So how much research do you need to do, first of all? Some pilgrims, they like to plan to the hour. Some pilgrims like to just go and whatever happens, happens. As with most things, I think balance is key. I'd say do just enough research to make yourself feel reassured, but not too much that you lose your excitement about it. And if it doesn't all go to plan, as Mark says, it is Spain. And you will be able to get anything that you need or forget on the Camino. Pilgrims often forget that they will be walking through a first world country, and it has shops and it has amenities. So really, there's no need to overplan. It's very easy to spiral down the online rabbit hole. Instead, research smart. Know that you're likely to come across all manner of contradictory advice and take that into account with the sources that you look at. Stick to the facts wherever possible. If you start venturing into forums or blogs or other personal spaces like that, that's all fine, but just take everything with a little pinch of salt and know that ultimately everything about your Camino is down to you. It is, and I cannot stress this enough, your Camino. It's kind of the whole point that you make the decisions. You are free, you are independent, you are in charge, maybe to a lesser extent if you're in a group, but still. In truth, that's a huge part of the Camino's appeal. So by all means, listen to advice, read about other pilgrims' experiences, but remember, you are calling the shots here. Now, a lot of the time, the main stumbling block in doing our research is right at the beginning, simply knowing where to start. So I've got a few lists that I'm going to share with you of potential sources of information that I would recommend as fact-based, reliable, and up-to-date. These lists I will actually email out to all of you after this webinar, so don't feel like you have to scribble them all down now. You'll get a copy of this probably tomorrow. So we're going to start off with the good old-fashioned humble guidebook. Really, I think a guidebook tells you pretty much all the information you need to set off on Camino, even if you've never done one before. By and large, all the essentials of accommodation information and route finding are there, bearing in mind most Caminos are incredibly well waymarked, and the rest you can learn as you go. We have here some of the best known English language guidebooks. Each of these cover several of the major routes. All of these are being updated for 2021 in some way, be it with republished editions, inserts, or links to updates on their respective websites that will vary from book to book. So let's have a look at some of these. So let's start off with Wise Pilgrim. Very popular, comprehensive, up-to-date set of guidebooks to each of the major routes, including the Camino Francés, Portuguese, the Norte, the Primitivo, as we see here, the Via del Plata, and the Finisterre circuit, and I believe there are more in the pipeline. All the information that you need and more for your Camino here, route finding, accommodation details, general interest information about the history and the culture of the places that you'll pass through. At this point, I'm going to recommend something that sounds obvious, but's actually super useful. If you buy a guidebook, make sure you get extremely familiar with its key and legend symbols. It'll make the experience a lot less stressful if you're able to identify at a glance what facilities are available in each place without having to check the key at the beginning of the guide each time. As you can see, there's loads of information here about the places that you're going to pass through, and there's also a handy set of maps and elevation profiles at the beginning of every Wise Pilgrim guide. These also link to a mobile app, which we will come back to later on. Next, we come to John Brierley's guides. These are probably the most popular English language Camino guidebook. He's really cracked the formula. A lot of pilgrims really like the way he lays things out. The routes are broken down into recommended daily stages. For each stage, there is a ton of information about accommodation, general interest again, and a very clear line map of the day. There are two versions to his guidebooks, to the Francés and the Portuguese. There's the fuller guide with more about its history, its culture, also more reflective stuff. You can see on the left-hand page there, there's a section on what he calls the mystical path and personal reflections for you to ponder as you're going along. Separately, there is also a map book for the Francés and for the Portuguese. Essentially, it's just a distillation of the maps and key accommodation information from the bigger guide. It's up to you about which you take with you. Obviously, the guide weighs more than the map book, but both contain more than enough information to see you through. He also now has books which cover the Camino Inglés, the Finisterre circuit, the Camino Invierno from Ponferrada, and the Camino Sanabres from Orense. That's John Brierley. Here we go. Tons of info. We also have Cicerone, jury's out as to how you pronounce that one, but I say Cicerone. They have guides to the Francés, including Finisterre, also the Portuguese and the Norte, and the Primitivo and the Inglés, also the Ruta do Mar, which is a route that goes from Riudeo on the Camino del Norte to Ferrol on the Camino Inglés. It skirts around the very top of the coast of Galicia. Here's the Francés. It comes with a map book. Again, all the essential information is covered: accommodation, maps, elevation profiles, etc. Probably less frequently updated on the whole, depending on the availability of volunteer writers, but still one of the market leaders. Cicerone also have a very good cyclist's guide to the Camino Francés by Mike Wells. Village to village, they also cover the main routes. Again, you can see similar information again laid out very clearly: accommodation, maps, elevation. These are particularly slim, these ones. So if you're really worried about every last gram, maybe have a look at these. They're really compact. Lightfoot, perhaps less well known. We stock a few of these in our shop, namely one to the route from Le Puy to Roncevaux. Very comprehensive guide, a bit weighty, but definitely a very handy planning tool at the very least. We also have their guides to the Three Saints Way from Winchester to Saint-Jean d'Angely, as well as their suite of guides and companions to the Via Francigena from Canterbury to Rome. Michelin, they've also produced a couple of very slim, very useful map books, which are just bare bones, very clearly laid out information, which fits in most pockets and is a lot cheaper than most other guidebooks out there. You can see it's split into daily stages again, with a line map and clear elevation profile there, distances, and the pilgrim accommodation available. They have these to the Camino Francés, as well as the route from Le Puy again. They also do regional maps. If you're looking for more ordnance survey style maps, if you're a real map head, then have a look at those. Also, if you fancy just going off the Camino at some point and making your own little detour, then the Michelin regional maps might be more handy for you. As you can see, Mark is a big fan of the Michelin Camino map book. And for the French routes, the gold standard for many years has generally considered to be Miam Miam Dodo. It's a fabulous name. They have guides to each of the 4 main Camino routes in France, from Le Puy, from Arles, from Vézelay, and from Paris now too. They are in French, but even if you don't speak it, all the accommodation information, maps, and distances will still be of great use to you. And as we heard in our last webinar, waymarking in France is not as comprehensive as it is in Spain, so you might be more reliant on your guidebook or your maps to find your way. And of course, the CSJ has many of its own guidebooks to a variety of different routes, written over the years by our industrious volunteers. We did used to update our guidebooks as often, well, as every year, but this was a huge ask of our volunteers, of course. But now we're turning our attention to lesser known routes and letting the big guys cover the more popular ones. So here's an example. We have a guide to the Camino Invierno. As you can see, we have maps and elevation profiles. These have been lent to us, as it were, very generously by the website gronce.com, which we'll have a look at in a second. So that's great. Besides that, we just lay out the route with all the essential information. And apart from the maps, we don't break the route into daily stages, just to afford you as much freedom as possible to make up your own itinerary. We don't impose those on you. It shows you the distance between each place, and how far you walk each day is completely up to you. Mark recommends reading your guide cover to cover before you go, highlighter in hand, he says. And of course, if you're still uneasy, do ask questions. That is what we are here for. All of these books are, of course, available from the CSJ online shop. Okay, as far as websites go now, I would recommend places like Gronce, we just mentioned, Eroski, Godestalco, Mundi Camino. All of these are in Spanish, but usually you can get your browser to translate them into English for you. And of course, the place names and the distances are the same in no matter what language. So for that alone, these websites are invaluable, I think. Then also you have the websites of the CSJ, as well as our counterpart associations in the US, Canada, Australia, Ireland, and South Africa. These are all Camino associations, so it is their whole mission statement to provide good, reliable advice and information on the pilgrimage to Santiago, so do check them out depending on where you are based. So let's take a look at some of these websites now. We'll come first to CSJ, because why not? Here we are, Camino Pilgrim, Confraternity of St. James. There is a ton of information on our site about us and about the Camino. If we hover over the Camino in the top heading, that's a good place to start, I think. If you check out our routes section, we split this into routes in Spain and Portugal, routes in France, and routes in other places. Looking at Spain and Portugal, you can see in alphabetical order a list of all the routes we have information on. Obviously, the best known routes are on there, but we also have lots of stuff on lesser walked routes. A lot of these ones don't have guidebooks written in English yet, so in those cases there are links to where you can find out more if you're interested in walking the Camino del Sur, for example, from the city of Huelva, Andalusia. The same for France. So look at France, all of the big hitters are there, as well as maybe some lesser known ones. The Chemin du Piémont-Pyrénéen, for example, the route from Geneva, as well as the Voie Littorale from Soulac and Mont Saint-Michel, and elsewhere. Back up to routes and back to others. We have pages on routes in Switzerland, route in Germany, route in Norway, as well as the Via Francigena. If you are thinking of doing this latter route, we do refer you to our sister organization, the Confraternity of Pilgrims to Rome. Other websites, as I say, they are in Spanish, but they are super comprehensive and they do get updated very frequently. I'll send you the list. Feel free to browse them in your spare time. But I do just want to show you Gronce now, because it is a lot of people's favorites. They have a huge directory of routes on this site. And for each one, it breaks it up into recommended daily stages for you. For each stage, there is a map, a height profile, a really detailed and bang up-to-date list of accommodations. So I'm on the Camino Frances, for example. If we look at stage 1, as you can see, there's 2 options for stage 1. You can either go the Napoleon route, which is the slightly scarier route, over the mountains. There's also the road route, the Valcarlos route there as well. But if we take a look at day 1 of the Camino Frances out of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, you can see a nice clear map, shows you where you're walking, what the distance is between each one, as well as this very handy list of all the possible places to stay. Obviously, it shows you how well it's been reviewed, what kind of building it is, its facility information, its pricing, but then it also has links to a booking site, such as booking.com in this case, which is really useful if you are planning to book your accommodation up in advance, which it does look like we're going to have to do once we can return to the Camino in order to help with social distancing requirements. There are these links already there. It's a great feature, very handy and very easy. Hopefully it won't remain the case forever that advance booking is mandatory, but we'll have to wait and see how the situation in Spain and the rest of the world unfolds. We have no certainty on dates at the moment, I'm afraid. Now you may have come across, I'm just going to try and move my thing. You may have come across a site colloquially known as the Camino Forum. This is a very popular discussion forum run by our friend in Santiago, Ivar Revke. He's been running it for many years and contains hundreds upon hundreds of discussion threads where someone has asked a question and others have left comments. Being a forum, it is teeming with opinions, sometimes quite passionate opinions, so just tread carefully. but you can search through all of them. You can search through frequently asked questions as well. That's quite handy. The discussions are categorized by Camino route, and you can search for particular keywords too if you have a particularly niche query. And of course, you can ask your own question as well, and it is free to sign up, so it's worth checking that out. Okay, take us back to presentation. Here we go. So that is websites. Apps. Now, I'm not so good on apps. There are probably people here today more knowledgeable on apps than I am. I struggle because there are literally over 100 apps on the Camino. And again, case in point, I find it overwhelming every time I try and research the differences between them. I will tell you about just a few though. There is the Wise Pilgrim app that I mentioned earlier. It is linked to the Wise Pilgrim guidebooks. Very straightforward, very easy to use, reliable information, places to stay, etc. In case you don't want to carry the book around with you, you might want to carry the book in advance and use it as a planning tool, but not actually take it with you. Save every little bit of weight that you can and just have the app on your phone. That's a popular option for people. The only app I've actually used on the Camino itself is called Editorial Buen Camino. I'm not sure it's actually updated anymore, or it may have morphed into a new app simply called Buen Camino, but it was very useful to me. I used it in conjunction with a Wise Pilgrim guidebook for simply showing me whether I was still on the Camino or not, because on its map, it marks out the Camino path and it uses GPS so you can see yourself as a blue dot and whether you're still actually on the Camino path or not. This is particularly useful on routes like the Camino del Norte, which has a lot of sections with several variants, several options. So you can, yeah, you can kind of follow yourself and in case the way marking disappears, it's not always 100% reliable on all of the variants. So it's just really reassuring to be able to see yourself moving slowly along the right path. Also, it doesn't rely on internet connection, which is very handy, and it's also totally free, at least it was for me. There's probably much more to that app, which you guys can check out if you're interested, but that feature alone I found very useful personally. I've also heard great things recently about the unfortunately named Guthook. This is another offline GPS app for hikers. It not only lets you see where you are in relation to the path, but also your current elevation. It also does clever things like record your journey, shows you how far you are from water, how far you are from the summit, which is key in my opinion, as well as clickable buttons for each town and village that you to show you kind of what facilities are there, what accommodation is there, that sort of thing. Guthook is it is free to download, but you will need to purchase the Camino map itself within the app. Doubtless there are many others that do a similar sort of thing, and if you are particularly keen on apps, you might need to shop around a bit, try out different ones, look at some reviews, preferably by official blogs or professional experts, but those are a start for you. There is a thread actually on the Camino forum with a comparison of 5 Camino apps, which is pretty balanced and pretty measured, so I will send you the link to that if you are an app person, and you can see a nice comparison there. I also lastly just want to talk to you about an app that we've already touched on in previous webinars, but I think it's worth mentioning again. It's called Alert Cop. If you are in any way worried about safety, if you're going on your own or doing a lesser walked route, or if you just want an added feeling of security, it's worth looking at this app. It's been developed by the Guardia Civil and Spanish government departments, and it allows you firstly to nominate a guardian at home, partner, relative or friend maybe, and it shares your location with that person to their smartphone so they can see you where you are at all times. They can check up on you if they want. Also, if you do get stuck up a mountain or need a rescue for whatever reason, the local police will be able to find you really quickly and accurately. It also links to local emergency services wherever you are. So if you're in a risky situation, you can alert the authorities instantly. You can even chat with them. You can send them photos, you can send them videos, and you'll get an immediate response. And also, depending on the area that you're in, you can be sent any citizen security warnings by local law enforcement if there is a security alert raised in the area for whatever reason. This is all, of course, highly unlikely, an extreme case scenario, but it is free and it might just provide some peace of mind if you were worried. Other places you can get information, well, in short, you can get in touch with us at the CSJ through a variety of channels, and we literally exist to advise, reassure, and cheer you on to Santiago. So do get in touch. We have regular Zoom events multiple times a week. Of course, we're on email and you can ring us up. As of the 15th of April, we will be allowed to open up our office again for our weekly open days if you can get to London. So check out our website, caminopilgrim.org, for all the information on all of that. Now, just to address a couple of the elephants in the room, COVID, firstly. This is obviously something that will need research all on its own now. With this, I really must recommend taking the official government level advice only. Don't get sucked into forum debates, pilgrims rationalizing their justification for breaking the rules. You must check Foreign Office for Brits or equivalent government restrictions on non-essential travel. Act responsibly. There is a page on the CSJ website that gets updated every week with the latest information and developments regarding the Camino and COVID. The link is just here. I'll send it to you after this webinar as well. And for us UK pilgrims, there's also now the complication of Brexit. Again, another thing that will need a bit of its own research. And again, take the official advice on it. We have a summary page on our website. It's been distilled from gov.uk and the BBC. It contains the bare bones of what you need to know about traveling to Europe. Now that we left the EU, the link is here. Do check that out also. Please don't only check that though. You will need to do your own research depending on your own circumstances. You'll need to check your own insurance, things like that, to make sure that you are properly in the know about the new requirements for that. So that's a lot of information I've just thrown at you. As I say, it will be coming to you in note form by email. I will just reiterate my message though, that it is completely up to you about how much research you do. Don't get bogged down with it, don't get stressed out. Use the resources that I'll send you, and if you need to talk to a human being about it all, talk to us. We love talking about the Camino at the CSJ. We are happy to, we want to give you the best experience possible, so we are here for you. We have Zooms every week, as I say, for general chat. We also have occasional lectures if you want to learn a bit more about a particular aspect of the pilgrimage. We have a monthly book club. And of course, we're doing these webinars. So you can see everything that we're doing at caminopilgrim.org/events. And you can see when they are and book yourself onto stuff if needed. Now, the next webinar is not for a little while now. It's happening on Thursday, the 29th of April. That will focus on what to take with you on your journey. There'll be lots of advice and recommendations about how to pack, what to pack, importantly, what not to pack. So sign up for that if you think that sounds useful. Also, before then, one of our regional groups in Manchester is holding their Practical Pilgrim Day on the afternoon of Saturday, the 17th of April, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This is an afternoon of helpful talks about walking the Camino in the time of COVID and other really useful stuff, so do sign up for that one as well, again, at our website. Any questions? I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and have a look at what we have so far. Okay, we have a question from Sally. Sally asks, is there an accommodation booking app? Not one single one, Sally, no. It's, I suspect there might be one in development, probably by one of the official Camino organizations, but that is kind of yet to be confirmed and definitely yet to be rolled out. So the situation with that might be changing over the coming months. Historically, up to now, people have used things like booking.com. It is kind of surprising actually how many pilgrim hostels are actually on booking.com. With booking.com as well, it was the case anyway that you could reserve a place without having to pay any money. which was really handy for pilgrims. So yes, but yeah, stay tuned about that one. I suspect that with the recent ruling that it will be mandatory to book accommodation in advance, I think facilities will be rolled out to accommodate for that. What's this one? Okay, Martin has asked, someone has told me that the trains from Bayonne to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port are not very reliable. Any comments? I mean, it was reliable for me. I suspect maybe if you did try and kind of book online and sort of hold them to that, then there might be, you know, the French like with their holidays, it might not always come through, but from what I've heard, by and large, it should be as reliable as any train service in France. So apologies if you've had bad experiences, but from what I've heard, it should be okay. Terry Smart says, I thought there was a CSJ webinar entitled The Holy Years on Monday the 19th of April. Do you know what, Terry? You're probably right. There is probably, yes, I think you're right. There is a webinar on Holy Years on the 19th of April, Monday the 19th of April. You're quite right. Correction. Our next webinar will be on the topic of Holy Years on Monday the 19th of April. Do sign up for that also. It'll be Colin Jones, our chairman, giving that one, and he will be talking to us about the practical implications of walking during a holy year, if we're able to. But remember that next year is also a holy year as well. Thank you for that. Matthew Christmas has a couple of questions. What's he say? Although everyone has their own preference, what is a manageable mileage on a decent weather day on average? I'd say the mean is probably between 20 and 25 kilometers. I think the majority of this is obviously there's a huge range, but I'd say bang in the middle would be 20 to 25 kilometers. And Matthew, I sort of know you, so I reckon looking at you through Zoom, I reckon you can do 20 to 25. Is there a general average time when the hostels open each day? Good question. For pilgrim hostels, i.e. ones that are often staffed by volunteers, they tend to spend their mornings cleaning the place, and then they generally open sort of lunchtime, early afternoon. So it's kind of the historical kind of traditional pilgrim routine, I suppose, is people set off quite early in the morning, say sort of 7 a.m, maybe even a bit earlier, much earlier if it's a stereotype, but Germans are sort of, the stereotype for German pilgrims is that they get up at 4 a.m. Obviously, that's a generalization, but you may come across it. You get in your kind of 6 or 7 hours of walking for the day. In the early part of the day, that also means you avoid the kind of peak temperatures that usually around 3 p.m. is the hottest part of the day. And it means that after 6 or 7 hours of walking, having set off really early, you arrive at your place around lunchtime, around 1 p.m, which is generally when the albergues start opening. So it means you're kind of there at the front of the queue, and you can secure your bed. Now, obviously, that may all change with social distancing and mandatory booking and things like that, but that's yet to be worked out, sort of. But yeah, that's kind of the traditional way of doing it. Richard and Tony, when you say book accommodation in advance, do you mean start of day needed or at start of pilgrimage? Not sure at this stage how far in advance you will need to book. I'm sort of hoping it need only be a day or two in advance. That's the hope. But the details haven't been published yet as to exactly what the requirements are. It may just be, you know, as long as you book before you actually arrive and they have space for you, then it's all good. But yes, further clarity is needed from the Camino authorities at this stage, I'm afraid. Aha, okay. William Griffiths says, I agree that trains from Bayonne to Saint-Jean are, in my experience, fine, but I have been told that if arriving by air at Biarritz Airport, there is a minibus service that goes direct to Saint-Jean. Yes, in fact, I will add that to the list of stuff that I send out to you. There is a service called Express Bourrico, and essentially it involves, as William says, a minibus, kind of minivan, for pilgrims, and it is there waiting for you at Biarritz Airport, and it will take you straight to Saint-Jean. I think that is probably a little less regular than the train. I think it kind of depends on how many people they can get to fill the van. I'm not sure it's timed. Maybe somebody knows better than me here. But there is that option, and definitely do some research into Express Bourrico if you're interested in that. Yeah, I think it depends on number of bookings as to when it actually functions. But yes, thank you, William. Omar, there is a bus stop as well outside departures at Bayonne. Yeah. So you can, if you want to, you can get the shuttle bus from Biarritz Airport to Bayonne, and then instead of getting on the train, you can get a bus to Saint-Jean from there. So there's a few ways of doing it. Okie dokie. I think that is all the questions for now. If you think of any other questions, obviously, as I say, please feel free to email us. If you're on Facebook, find us on Facebook. We're called Camino Pilgrim CSJ UK, and message us on there. And we are on Zoom a couple of times a week as well. In fact, we're Zooming next tomorrow morning at 10:30. We have our coffee morning, which we started probably this time a year ago. So there you go, been doing them for a year. If there are no more questions, I will say thank you very much for joining us on this quite summery evening. Thank you for coming indoors. I will send you all the stuff that I promised, probably tomorrow, and hopefully see you at the next webinar on the 19th of April, followed by the next one on the 29th of April, to learn more. So with that, I will say thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. Oh, thank you. Okay. You're welcome, Matthew. Yes, have lovely evenings. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Stay safe. All the best. Goodbye.